Hello Year 11s and welcome to this video on the production possibility model. The production possibility model is an economic model that brings together many of the concepts that we have studied so far. Accordingly, by studying the production possibility model, you will not only be learning something new, but you will also be consolidating your existing knowledge. There are 4 things that you need to do while you're watching this video. The first thing is to take the very best Cornell notes that you can. The second thing is to use the pause and rewind functions. Use the pause function if you need to stop this video to take notes. Use the rewind function if you want to go over any information contained in this video. The third thing that you need to do is to have your vocabulary sheets open in front of you so that you can write into your vocabulary sheets the definitions of key terms or of any other words the meaning of which you're unfamiliar with. And the fourth thing that you need to do is to have your summary books open in front of you. In this video, I will give you guidance about what you should include in your summary books. All right, let's get started then. Here are your learning intentions for this video. Write these learning intentions down in your Cornell notes. The first learning intention is that you should be able to explain the operation of the production possibility model, including the significance of the production possibility frontier. The information contained in this video will assist you to achieve this learning intention. The second learning intention is that you should be able to apply the production possibility model to explain the significance of different output combinations for the efficient use of resources, opportunity costs, unemployment, inflation, and living standards. You will be able to achieve this learning intention by using the information contained in this video to complete the production possibility model worksheet that I have given you, as well as by completing the other learning activities relating to this model that we will be doing in class. The production possibility model is a model that is used to illustrate the production choices available to a country through the different ways resources may be used. Look down the left-hand side of your vocabulary sheets, find the term production possibility model and write this definition in there. Now, while the definition refers to a country, we can in fact use the production possibility model to illustrate different scenarios, including the choices that an individual business might make about the way it uses the resources available to it. However, for the purposes of this video, we will be referring to the production choices available to a country. As I've said, the production possibility model brings together many of the concepts that we have studied so far. In the following slides, we will be looking at how the production possibility model is used to illustrate technical or productive efficiency in the use of resources, a country's productive capacity, the basic economic problem of relative scarcity, choice in production, opportunity costs, allocative efficiency, the underutilization of resources, including unemployment, which is the underutilization of labor, inflation, and living standards. Let's start off with a bit of an overview of the production possibility model. I suggest that, as I take you through this slide, you build up this overview on one of the production possibility model sheets that I have given you, and that you include this overview in your summary books. The production possibility model assumes that a country can only produce 2 different kinds of products. In the example on this slide, these 2 products are sugar and coffee. The amount of sugar that is produced is shown on the horizontal axis in thousands of kilograms, and the amount of coffee that is produced is shown on the vertical axis, also in thousands of kilograms. However, these 2 products do not need to be sugar and coffee. They could be any 2 different kinds of products, such as hamburgers and pizzas, defense equipment and trains, education services and health services, goods and services, and so on. Whatever these two products may be, the country will use its resources to produce these two products and no other products. The resources that the country uses to produce these two products will consist of land, which, as you know, includes natural resources, capital resources, labour resources, and entrepreneurial resources. So, in our example, the sugar and coffee will be produced using land on which to grow the sugar cane and coffee bushes, natural resources such as sunlight and rain, capital resources such as machinery to harvest and refine the sugar and coffee, and labour resources which can also be used to harvest the sugarcane and coffee beans as well as to work in the factories that refine the sugar and coffee. The entrepreneurial resources will be provided by those people who own or manage the businesses that farm and produce the sugar and coffee. This graph illustrates all possible combinations in which the two products, in our case, sugar and coffee, could be produced. We call these combinations output combinations. So, for instance, if the country is producing at point B, then it is producing 1,000 kilograms of sugar and 6,000 kilograms of coffee. If the country is producing at point D, then it is producing 4,000 kilograms of sugar and 4,000 kilograms of coffee. If the country is producing at point C, then it is producing 6,000 kilograms of sugar and 1,000 kilograms of coffee. If the country is producing at point A, then it is producing about 2,500 kilograms of sugar and 2,500 kilograms of coffee. And if the country is producing at point X, then it is producing about 7,000 kilograms of sugar and 4,000 kilograms of coffee. Now, there are essentially three different zones that make up the production possibility model. The first is the production possibility frontier, or PPF, also sometimes called the production possibility curve. This is the curve on this graph that extends from the point on the y-axis, which is where the country is only producing coffee and no sugar, through points B, D, and C to a point on the x-axis, which is where the country is only producing sugar and no coffee. The production possibility frontier depicts the maximum level of output a country can produce when all its resources are being used to maximum technical efficiency. In other words, the production possibility frontier depicts a country's productive capacity, that is, the country's potential level of output. Look down the left-hand side of your vocabulary sheets, find the term production possibility frontier and write this definition in there. You can see that this definition refers to two other important concepts. The first of these is productive capacity, which means a country's potential level of output. That is, the output that a country is capable of producing when it uses all of its resources in the most efficient way. Look down the left-hand side of your vocabulary sheets, find the term productive capacity and write this definition in there. The second important economic concept which is referred to in this definition is the concept of technical efficiency, which is also often referred to as productive efficiency. Technical or productive efficiency is maximized when the maximum possible amount of goods and services is being produced using the least cost method and minimizing the quantity of resources used. Look down the left-hand side of your vocabulary sheets, find the term technical or productive efficiency and write this definition in there. So, each output combination that is located on the production possibility frontier is an output combination that is produced when the country's resources are being used with maximum technical or productive efficiency. For instance, when the country is producing 1,000 kilograms of sugar and 6,000 kilograms of coffee, that is, when the country is producing at point B, it is using all its resources, land, natural resources, capital resources, labor resources, and entrepreneurial resources to their maximum technical or productive efficiency. Now, it is quite possible that the country is not actually producing in a way that maximizes its technical efficiency. That is, that the country is not producing the potential level of output that it is capable of producing. Put another way, the country's actual level of output may be less than its potential level of output, that is, less than the country's productive capacity, because all of the resources available to the country are not being used to their maximum technical efficiency. In such a case, the country will be producing in the zone of inefficiency. This is the second of the zones that make up the production possibility model. For example, if the country is producing 2,500 kilograms of sugar and 2,500 kilograms of coffee, that is, if the country is producing at point A, then its actual output of sugar and coffee is less than the output of sugar and coffee that the country could produce if it used its resources more efficiently. So, each output combination that is located inside the production possibility frontier is an output combination that is produced when the country's resources are not being used with maximum technical or productive efficiency. In other words, the country is underutilizing its resources. It is not making full use of them. This then brings us to the third of the zones that make up the production possibility model. This is the zone of unachievability. This refers to all output combinations that are located outside the production possibility frontier. For example, to produce at point X, the country would have to produce 7,000 kilograms of sugar and 4,000 kilograms of coffee. However, the country simply cannot do this with its existing resources. No matter how efficiently it uses those existing resources, it is technically impossible to produce that output combination, or indeed any other output combination that is outside the production possibility frontier. Well, that is an overview of the production possibility model. You should now have copied this overview onto one of the production possibility model sheets that I have given you. Please make sure that you include this overview in your summary books. Now we're going to explore the implications of the production possibility model in more detail. I'd like you to take notes on this information using one or more of the production possibility model sheets that I've given you. These notes can then be included in your summary books. You can include any other information that is useful but not essential, such as examples and additional explanation, in your Cornell notes. Our focus is on how the production possibility model can be used to illustrate technical or productive efficiency in the use of resources, a country's productive capacity, the basic economic problem of relative scarcity, choice in production, opportunity costs, allocative efficiency, the underutilization of resources, including unemployment, which is the underutilization of labor, inflation, and living standards. So these are the factors that you need to focus on when making the notes for your summary books. Before we look into the production possibility model in more detail, however, you need to know that there are three assumptions that underlie the production possibility model. We've touched on these in the course of the overview, but I've set them out expressly for you on this slide. The first assumption is that the country uses its available resources, that is, its land, its capital resources, its labor resources, and its entrepreneurial resources, to produce only two products, in our case, sugar and coffee. The second assumption is that all of these resources can be used in the production of either product. So, for example, the same land can be used to grow sugarcane and coffee bushes. The same machinery can be used to harvest sugarcane and coffee beans and to produce sugar and coffee. And the same workers can also be used to harvest sugarcane and coffee beans and to produce sugar and coffee. And the third assumption is that all of these resources are used to maximum technical efficiency. At least the first two assumptions, and quite possibly the third assumption, will not be satisfied in practice, that is, in the real world. However, economics uses models and simplifying assumptions so that we can start to understand the complex economy that actually exists. Once we have that basic understanding, we can then relax the assumptions to get a better approximation of how the economy actually works and of how economic agents, that is, consumers, businesses, and governments, make economic decisions. On this slide, I will explain how the production possibility model can be used to illustrate technical or productive efficiency in the use of resources, a country's productive capacity, the basic economic problem of relative scarcity, choice in production, and opportunity costs. The important point is to focus on the relationships or links between these concepts. As I've already explained, the production possibility frontier shows the potential output combinations, in this case, the potential output combinations of coffee and sugar, that can be produced when the country's resources are being used with maximum technical or productive efficiency. All output combinations located on the production possibility frontier have the same technical efficiency. That is, whenever the country is producing at point B, C, or D, or at any other point on the production possibility frontier, it is producing sugar and coffee in a way that uses the available resources to their maximum technical efficiency. Put another way, the country is producing at its productive capacity, that is, at its potential level of output. Now recall the basic economic problem of relative scarcity. This is the problem that the quantity and quality of resources available to businesses for production is limited, whereas the wants of consumers are unlimited. It is because the country's resources are limited that it cannot produce unlimited amounts of sugar and coffee. Instead, at best, the country can only produce those combinations of sugar and coffee that are located on the production possibility frontier. However, within this constraint, the country has choice in production. It could choose to produce at point B, that is, it could choose to produce 1,000 kilograms of sugar and 6,000 kilograms of coffee. It could choose to produce at point C, that is, it could choose to produce 6,000 kilograms of sugar and 1,000 kilograms of coffee. It could choose to produce at point D, that is, it could choose to produce 4,000 kilograms of sugar and 4,000 kilograms of coffee, or it could choose to produce at any of the other points on the production possibility frontier. But having choice also means that the country must make economic decisions. And, as you know, every economic decision has an opportunity cost. This is because where resources are limited, deciding to use those resources to produce one particular type of product means that those resources are not available to be used to produce another type of product. Recall our definition of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the value of production or consumption foregone, that is given up, when resources are allocated to their next best alternative use. We can illustrate this using the production possibility model. If the production of coffee is increased, then the production of sugar must be decreased because some of the resources used to produce sugar now have to be reallocated to the production of coffee. Let's assume that the country is producing at point D, that is, it is producing 4,000 kilograms of sugar and 4,000 kilograms of coffee, and that it then decides to increase its production of coffee to 6,000 kilograms. This means that the country will now be producing at point B. However, because the country has limited resources, it can only increase its production of coffee from 4,000 kilograms to 6,000 kilograms by reallocating resources away from the production of sugar to the production of coffee. This necessarily means that the increase in the production of coffee has come at the expense of a decrease in the production of sugar, in this case from the 4,000 kilograms of sugar produced at point D to the 1,000 kilograms of sugar produced at point B. The opportunity cost of increasing the production of coffee from 4,000 kilograms at point D to 6,000 kilograms at point B is therefore the value of the 3,000 kilograms of sugar, 4,000 kilograms at point D minus 1,000 kilograms at point B that has been foregone. This opportunity cost would include both the profit that producers would have made by producing this foregone 3,000 kilograms of sugar, and the satisfaction that consumers would have gained by being able to consume this foregone 3,000 kilograms of sugar. Remember the difference between positive economic analysis and normative economic analysis? Positive economic analysis analyzes issues that can be proved or disproved beyond doubt based on verifiable facts. It is objective and so does not involve value-based judgments. On the other hand, normative economic analysis analyzes issues from the perspective of what should be done, and so is subjective because it involves value-based judgments. Well, the question of what output combinations make up the production possibility frontier involves positive economic analysis because it is a fact-based question as to which output combinations, that is, which production choices, are the most technically efficient for a particular country and therefore are included on that country's production possibility frontier. Now, while all output combinations on a country's production possibility frontier have the same technical efficiency, which is the maximum technical efficiency, as these output combinations are combinations that use the available resources to their maximum technical efficiency, only one of these output combinations has the highest allocative efficiency. Allocative efficiency is maximized when the combination of goods and services that is being produced maximizes living standards in the sense of providing the maximum possible benefits for consumers and the country. The output combination which maximizes allocative efficiency is often referred to as the best or most efficient output combination. This is because not only does this output combination, like other output combinations on the production possibility frontier, result in the country's resources being used to maximum technical efficiency, but this output combination, unlike any of the other output combinations on the production possibility frontier, results in the maximum allocative efficiency. That is, the maximum possible living standards. Look down the left-hand side of your vocabulary sheets, find the term allocative efficiency and write this definition in there. While points B, C, and D all have the same technical efficiency, which is the maximum technical efficiency, it would seem unlikely that either point B or point C would have a very high allocative efficiency. This is because consumers are unlikely to want so much coffee and so little sugar as would be produced at point B. For example, many consumers are likely to prefer their coffee to be sweetened with sugar and so would want more sugar to be produced. Equally, consumers are unlikely to want so much sugar and so little coffee as would be produced at point C. While consumers may want some sugar to sweeten their coffee, they don't want to drink hot sugar rather than hot coffee, and so would want more coffee to be produced. We don't know if this is the case, but let's assume that the output combination at point D, 4,000 kilograms of sugar and 4,000 kilograms of coffee, has the maximum allocative efficiency because this is the sugar-coffee combination that consumers want most. In such a case, if the country moves its production away from point D towards point B, that is, if the country allocates more resources to coffee production and less resources to sugar production, then consumers will be less satisfied and so their living standards will decline. Conversely, if the country moves its production away from point D towards point C, that is, if the country allocates more resources to sugar production and less resources to coffee production, then consumers will also be less satisfied, and so their living standards will decline. So now you can see how the production possibility model can be used to illustrate allocative efficiency and living standards. As I've said, we cannot tell, just by looking at the production possibility model, which output combination has the maximum allocative efficiency. Instead, what is considered to be the best or most efficient output combination, that is the output combination that achieves the maximum allocative efficiency and therefore the highest living standards, depends on the value that the country places on the different possible output combinations. While the question of what output combinations make up the production possibility frontier involves a positive economic analysis because it is a fact-based question as to which output combinations are the most technically efficient for a particular country, the question of what output combination achieves the maximum allocative efficiency involves a normative economic analysis. This is because the best output combination depends upon value judgments, such as the relative importance of materialism versus the environment. For example, a country that is highly materialistic is likely to most value the output combination that produces the largest quantity of goods and services, regardless of the impact on the environment. This is because in a highly materialistic society, living standards are largely determined by the quantity of goods and services that consumers can buy. On the other hand, a country that is more environmentally conscious is likely to most value the output combination that has a lesser impact on the environment. This is because in a more environmentally conscious society, living standards are substantially influenced by the quality of the environment. So far, we have only considered output combinations on the production possibility frontier. On this slide, we look at output combinations in the zone of inefficiency, that is, output combinations that are located inside the production possibility frontier, and output combinations in the zone of unachievability, that is, output combinations that are located outside the production possibility frontier. Let's start off with output combinations in the zone of inefficiency, such as point A, where the country is producing 2,500 kilograms of sugar and 2,500 kilograms of coffee. This is a situation in which the country is producing at less than its maximum technical efficiency. That is, the country is producing at below its productive capacity as it is not producing the potential level of output that it is capable of producing. In other words, when the country is producing output combinations inside the production possibility frontier, it is not using its resources efficiently. Instead, it is making inefficient use of those resources. Can you see the links between the production possibility model, the zone of inefficiency, technical efficiency, and productive capacity? Well, here's another link. If a country is producing inside the production possibility frontier, then the country is underutilizing its resources because it's not making full use of them. In the case of our sugar and coffee producing country, this may mean that there is available land that is not being used to grow sugarcane or coffee bushes, that there is machinery sitting idly by rather than being used in sugar and coffee production, or that there are unused labour resources. Unused labour resources mean that there is unemployment because some workers are not being used in the country's only economic activities, which are the production of sugar and the production of coffee. So there's the link to unemployment. Our final link is to allocative efficiency and living standards. Because output combinations inside the production possibility frontier are not being produced in the most technically efficient way, consumers' wants are not being satisfied to the maximum extent possible with the limited resources that are available. Thus, allocative efficiency and therefore living standards are lower than they could be. In addition, the fact that there is unemployment means that some workers are not being paid an income, or perhaps they are being paid a lesser income than they would get if they were fully employed. Again, this means that allocative efficiency and therefore living standards are lower than they could be. This then brings us to output combinations in the zone of unachievability, such as point X, where the country would be producing 7,000 kilograms of sugar and 4,000 kilograms of coffee. The country simply does not have the resources to produce output combinations that are outside the production possibility frontier. If the country tries to produce any of these output combinations, then all that will happen is that the producers, in our case the sugar and coffee producers, will compete with each other for the resources that they need to make these output combinations. Because there are not enough resources available to make these output combinations, this competition for resources will drive up the price of those resources. For example, if the country tries to produce at point X, then the sugar producers will have to pay higher wages to attract workers in the coffee production industry to come to work in the sugar production industry so that the sugar producers can produce the 7,000 kilograms of sugar. However, this will mean that the coffee producers cannot produce the 4,000 kilograms of coffee, and so the coffee producers will need to pay even higher wages to attract workers from the sugar production industry to the coffee production industry. This competition will continue, which will cause wages to spiral upwards. Sugar and coffee producers will build these wage increases into the prices that they charge for sugar and coffee. This increase in prices is referred to as inflation. The result of inflation is that consumers cannot afford to buy as much sugar and coffee because the price of those products has risen. That is, consumers have lower purchasing power. This in turn means that living standards are reduced because consumers cannot afford to buy the quantity of products that they could have bought if there had not been any inflation. So here you can see the link between the production possibility model, the zone of unachievability, inflation, and living standards. Here we have our last slide. This slide shows how the production possibility frontier for a country can expand. Remember that the points on the production possibility frontier are made up of those output combinations that are able to be produced when the country's resources are being used with maximum technical or productive efficiency. An expansion or outward shift of the production possibility frontier occurs when the country's productive capacity or potential output increases. There are two reasons why a country's production possibility frontier might expand. First, there could be an increase in the quantity of the country's resources. This could occur where, for example, new natural resources are discovered. There is growth in the population. This will increase the quantity of labour resources. Or producers purchase new capital resources such as new technology like robots. The second reason why a country's production possibility frontier might expand is that the country's level of technical or productive efficiency increases. This means that the country develops new ways of using the country's existing resources more efficiently. For example, by increasing the operating hours of factories or increasing the skills of workers by providing them with more training. These are the two main reasons that can result in an increase in a country's productive capacity, that is, in an increase in the country's potential output. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. As a result of watching and taking notes on this video, you should now be able to do two things. The first thing is to explain the operation of the production possibility model, including the significance of the production possibility frontier. The second thing is to be able to apply the production possibility model to explain the significance of different output combinations for the efficient use of resources, opportunity costs, unemployment, inflation, and living standards. Please now complete the production possibility model worksheet that I have given you. This will further assist you to achieve this second learning intention. I will also give you even more practice in applying the production possibility model in the learning activities that we do in class. Thank you for your attention.